back to the channel. This episode, you're not going to see me fishing, you're not going to see me out on the water catching those giant smallmouth or those big largemouth or freshwater drum. It's April. We're about ready to hit ice out. There's still a little bit of ice left out there on the lake. It's not much. I think it's like 3, 4, maybe 5 more days it'll be completely open. But I get a lot of people ask me all the time, what do you do in the wintertime? I don't do much. The biggest thing I like to do is really make a lot of the stuff that I use on the water. I got into pouring soft plastics about 8 or 10 years ago. Then that turned into me making jigs that I use. And this winter, I wanted to get into making hair jigs because I'm always in a situation. I'm like, man, I wish I had a hair jig I could tie on. I never really found a bunch of good colors that I like. So had a lot of guys down at the hunt club down in Virginia came through, gave me a whole bunch of deer tails, and so over the winter I've been tanning them and dyeing them all different colors. You see there? So what I do, I tan them out, skin them out, then I dye them all different colors. I got red, pink, yellows, brown, greens, you name it. And so I started tying up hair jigs. And like I said, it's always a situation where you're heavily pressured, especially the lake I live on. I mean, when you get to the summertime, there's been so many tournaments out there. There's pleasure boaters, just recreational fishermen all the time. So these bass get really heavily pressured. And I'm just like, man, I just need something that's super finesse sometimes. And I never really, I never had hair jigs in my tackle box. So I was like, I'm going to start making them. So different colors, whites, browns, yellows, chartreuse, black and blue, different heads, different styles, different weights, all over the place. That way, depending on what type of situation I'm in, I can tie the type of hair jig that I want. I got some with weed guards on them if I want to fish like grassy areas. So really got a good arsenal of hair jigs. But the reason I'm making this video is not just for that. Another thing I do in the wintertime is I get all my tackle organized. I go through, start taking inventory, stuff I got to order in the springtime. And one thing I started doing was changing out a bunch of treble hooks, and then I realized something. We'll grab something like this one. What I realized, a lot of my top orders and stuff that have been in the tackle box, you can see that. It's like all discolored and everything. I was like, well, I got these treble hooks, got all this deer hair. Why can't I do that? So, what I'm going to do is actually take a treble hook. I'm going to get it on my fly vise here, and I'm going to put some deer hair on it. Now, I don't have these flares. Fly guys don't have these types of flares and stuff. But what I do have is silicone skirting with different flashes on them. So what I'm going to do is actually incorporate some of my silicone skirting on some of these treble hooks. So I'm going to get the camera switched around, I'm going to get a treble hook on the fly vise, and I'm going to give you a little tutorial how I like to tie hair on treble hooks. Okay, so we got our setup here. This is the lure that I want to put a new treble hook on the back, but I want to change that. You can see it's all brown, faded, discolored and stuff. Actually, I think that flare's a little bit long too. I don't think I'm going to put quite as much flare on there. I'm probably going to stick with the white, but what I'm going to do is actually throw a little bit of orange silicone in there. Now this is the deer tail I have that's not dyed up, so that white is perfectly good by itself. First thing I want to do is get started with getting some thread on the hook here. I'm going to cut some of this off there. Pretty simple to get this started. I'm just going to have it folded backwards here. And I like to hold it in place like that. Give it a few turns. And like that. Okay, now what we can do is go and cut these tags off. Like that. Next thing we gotta do is what I always start with a little bit of head cement on the initial threading. That way it doesn't come loose. Just a little bit. That's all you need. I'm going to take, I already cut some hair off here. I'm going to put it there. A couple loose wraps. And I'm just going to spin it around the hook like this. A couple more wraps. And what I want to do is change the hook point to this side. I'm going to cut off a little bit more hair here. Trim it up. And I'm going to put that right there. Again, I'm going to do a couple loose wraps. I'm going to spin it around. And then I'm going to finish it off. There we go. Now again, I want to put in a little bit of orange. I'll probably do about that much. Go. And we're going to cut that to length of the hair, like that. And just a little something extra there, you know, that's not much. Now we're going to take our finishing tool here. If I can get it off of here. Oh, come on, you. And we're just going to do this about 6-7 times. We'll pop it off the back, pull it tight, and cut it. Now we'll take our head cement and put it all over the threading. Come underneath. Alright. I'll pull this out. And probably will cut that just a touch. Maybe a touch long. Let's go ahead and cut that back just a touch. Let me see, about right here, huh? What do you think? Not bad. I like that. I think that's going to look nice on the back of here. That orange has the orange belly. White top. Yeah, I think that'll work. Alright, so there we have it. So I got this finished up here. Like I said, I just did that white. I did that little bit of orange there. Really wanted to kind of mimic the bottom of the lure that I'm throwing. So when you're throwing top water, really the top never really matters, right? It's always that it's just a little bit of hue it might put in the water, but it's that bottom color that's important. The same way when you throw top water frogs. It doesn't really matter what's on top, it's what's on the bottom that counts. So again, I had that orange belly, and I was like, you know what, I'll throw a little bit of orange in that white, just a little, kind of mimic what's already there, one for that flash. So the reason I was like, you know what, I'll start doing this because you kind of have to pay premium when you buy treble hooks that have hair or some type of flare or something on them. So I was like, I already got the materials. Why not just start tying these up? I already do the hair jig, so why not? I'm not saying if you go out and buy everything you need to get into this, you're ever going to save money. That is not the case. I don't want people to think that, oh, I'll save money by doing this. For me, it's a hobby for the winter time, right? By the time, I spent the money getting into this, but when I tie up enough, and every hair jig that I tie or every jig that I make after my initial investment, yeah, I'll be saving money, but it takes a while. It takes a lot of lures to make before you make up for that amount of money. And obviously I fish like crazy when the lake is open, and I go through a lot of lures, I go through a lot of jigs, so definitely think I've made my money up for it. I've definitely saved a lot of money by making a lot of my own products, especially when it comes to soft plastics. You can get like a 5-gallon thing of soft plastic. It'll make you 10,000, I don't know how many Cincos, and I think they're like $100 or something like that for a 5-gallon thing of it. But if you look at a pack of Cincos, Yamamoto Cincos, they were what, $8, $9 for 10 of them, right? So definitely when it comes to soft plastics, if you ever get into that, you can save yourself a ton of money. But you just got to buy the molds. Molds that typically, if you go on, I think Candy Creek Molds, Do It Corporation, things like that, they sell molds. You're looking at somewhere between $50 to $200 depending on what type of mold you're trying to get. Now, keep in mind that a lot of companies, lure making companies, have patents on their design, so you won't ever really get an exact replica mold. They'll just come really, really close. The biggest one, I really wanted to make it, was the Rage Tails, the chunks. They have a patent on that design, and I got a chunk style, mold. It's not quite the same. I do pour Cincos, and pretty much you can get Cinco molded, and it's exactly like Yamamoto Cincos. The only difference is the formula they use in their soft plastics versus you. Just do a lot of experimenting between hardeners and softeners, between salts and other density adders, things like that, to give you the type of soft plastic that you're looking for. But other than that, again, a couple of weeks, I'll be out there, I'll be fishing, hopefully get some videos of some really early springtime bass. Honestly, I'll catch some of my biggest bass of the year in the first few weeks after ice out, honestly, because these bass, they'll come up and they know they got to feed before they start spawning, and they just get fat. Then you get the females that are full of eggs, so you catch some really, really big smallmouth right after ice out. I can't wait to get out there. So hopefully I got some more videos coming. Thanks for tuning in.